The biggest European preview show is here. It's the playoff rounds, baby. And if you said to me a month ago that I would be not looking forward to the playoff rounds and I'd be bricking, I'd be like, what happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened. Russell Martin balls happened, and I'll probably be behind the couch tonight watching Rangers take on Club Brugge. But regardless, I'm looking forward to it. That's just a wee bit of banter. But yeah, I mean, I could be looking a wee bit more forward to it because I am fearing an absolute scudding off of Club Brugge. It might not be the night, but it could be away next week in Bruges. But anyway, there's not just Rangers talk about, there's Aberdeen, Celtic, Hibs, a few other British clubs, Irish clubs in there. Looking forward to it, man. Now, of course, the Champions League is the premier competition. We've been hearing that for years on this channel. Thursday night is the plate competition. So the question is, we're going to begin with the Champions League, but who is going to end up in the Thursday night plate competition, or whatever you want to call it? Right, I'm not going to go through every Champions League game here, but you know, Ferencváros, Qarabağ. I will go through every Champions League game. Ferencváros, Qarabağ. Here, both teams will want that Champions League money. I think it will be Ferencváros. Red Star Belgrade versus Paphos. Here, I'd love to see Paphos in there, just because they're probably the worst team in here. Them and Kairat. But tell you what, man, Red Star Belgrade, always an interesting atmosphere in Europe, and big European nights, Champions League, it would be great. Bodo Glimt, Sturm Graz, that'll be a tough one. Bodo Glimt, I kind of like Bodo Glimt and their wee Arctic Circle gimmick they've got going, so I wouldn't mind them. But anyway, match 4, the first of 2 we're going to talk about properly here in the European preview show. Celtic versus Kairat. Do Celtic need to win this game before going to Kazakhstan? I wouldn't say they need to, but at the same time, as there's a wasp buzzing in my face, that's brilliant, that's exactly what I want. I wouldn't say they... I mean, it's not like if Celtic drew this game, it'd be like game over, but the pressure would definitely be ramped up, because if you go into Kazakhstan 5,000 miles away, and the aim for Celtic in this game of football is to put the tie to bed, right? Leave no questions asked ahead of the second leg. Now, there has been no new signings for Celtic in between the last couple of weeks, really. Simpson, Porsche, that guy, don't see him featuring. They've got no real injury concerns. Has Arnie Engels done enough to warrant a start? Some would say yes, it was pretty good against Falkirk. But they've played 2 games at Parkhead so far this season. 1-0 against, what do you call them, St Mirren, which was a close game. And then obviously 4-1 against Falkirk. Obviously, key players for Celtic, you've got, Tierney started really well, no goals, but yeah, a bucket load of assists. Cal McGregor, obviously the usual there, Dyson Maida, etc. But you know, Celtic, they're lacking that number 9, they are a bit toothless up top, especially in the number 9 position and the right side of the right wing side. But here, I don't really know too much about this Kairat team, right? But it's the playoff round of the Champions League. There's been bigger upsets in European football than Kairat beating Celtic over 2 legs, that is for sure. You know, I've been privy to a couple of them, so I'll be interested to see how this one goes down. But I mean, I don't really know. I mean, they've got a couple of capped players, some from Israel, a couple of players, you know, they've got like a 16-year-old sensation, I think he's born 2009 or something, which is just mental, man. Guy scored a penalty, taken through in the last round, not I think it was the second qualifying round. Or it might have been Slovan Bratislava he scored against. I'm not too sure, right? Either or, you know, we've seen. Look at St Mirren at the opening game of the season. They gave Celtic a fight and were very close to a draw. But that, you know, that's St Mirren. This team, this is Champions League playoff, man. St Mirren weren't playing with like a 40 million carat on the line, so it'll be interesting to see. But I think Celtic will win this game of football. I'll go 2-0. I mean, 2-0 is not quite job done. You know, anything could happen in that second leg. You could go down to 10 men a minute into the game, something crazy could happen, and that would cause a lot of controversy and a lot of drama. But yeah, I still think Celtic will win. It would have been interesting if the legs were switched, but they're not switched. But again, it could be interesting if this is a draw. You know, if this is a draw and Celtic are really lacking and not creating anything up front, then the transfer talks are going to go through the roof about what the hell's going on. But I'm going to go 2-0. Aye, Celtic get. I'll go Dyson Maida and Arnie Engels with a penalty. There you go. How about that? Moving on to the games that matter though. You know, well, Basel, Copenhagen, Fenerbahce, Benfica. I hope Copenhagen and Fenerbahce go through. I mean, Benfica are obviously a bigger club than Fenerbahce, but I just like to see Mourinho in there. So, I'll take that. Moving on though, Rangers Club Brugge. I just seen this morning that Barami has been dropped out of the Champions League squad, and he has been essentially dropped for the new left back from Brentford. I mean, it's the correct call to get a left back in there, but why is Barami getting dropped? I don't know why Russell Martin is willing to die on the Kieran Doyle hill, folks. I don't understand it for the life of me. It's crazy, because Kieran Doyle is fucking rank rotten. It's not like Kieran, it's not even like he's like a Barami where, yeah, he's pish, but here he has the odd moment of brilliance like we've seen against Alloa where he's stuck in top ends. He's done that before. Kieran Doyle offers nothing, and it would be a weird thing to get sacked over, but you know, if Kieran Doyle costs us a goal tonight or in the second leg, at either end of the pitch, whether it's offensively or defensively, then he's going to get pelters. But I previewed this game yesterday. I think if Rangers have any chance of going through, they need to win this game. I've went with a 2-1 win. I really hope it's a 2-1 win. Club Brugge, for a couple of things from their camp, they're still in the middle of a rebuild. They've lost a lot of their players, but so have we. You know, I mean, the only difference is we've not lost any of our good players, but we've somehow made the team worse. Work that one out. So yeah, to recap, Celtic 2 and Rangers 2-1. I will go with James Tavernier to get a cheeky penalty, and Thilo Asgard to announce his Rangers, to start his Rangers record with a wee goal here. First start, first goal, that would be lovely. But anyway, it's time to move on to the Europa League. Now moving on to the Europa League, there's a crazy situation where all three teams left are playing in the Europa League, the Thursday night plate competition. Imagine that. How weird would that be to see Celtic, Rangers and Aberdeen all in the same European League table? Hell man, it'd be weird just to see two, let alone three, but crazy man. But yeah, I'm not going to go through every game here. I'll try and pick out the wee Diddy teams. Well, I mean, Lincoln Red Imps are playing Brugge. I mean, that's mental. They're getting, so Gibraltar team's guaranteed Conference League. I'll go 5-0 Brugge. It's the playoff round, you know what I mean? Like, the Brugge will probably just batter them from the get-go and it'll be easy enough. So 5-0 Brugge. Got Midtjylland versus Cups. It's a bit of a one-sided game. Surski and Mostar versus Utrecht. So yeah. But what we're here to talk about is Aberdeen versus Stade Bucharest. So the only problem in my plan for all three Scottish teams to be in the Europa League is probably Aberdeen. Because, yeah, I mean, Celtic and Rangers both could very easily lose, but Aberdeen, could they fairly well easily win? No, I just don't see it. If they are to go through, they're going to need to pick up a result here. Now, what I will say about Aberdeen is their Conference League run in 23-24 was phenomenal. I know they didn't get out the group stage, right, but they were really unlucky. Hell, they beat Frankfurt 2-0. And I don't care what way you spin that, beating Frankfurt 2-0, I'd have fucking chopped my hand off to beat Frankfurt 2-0 over 3 years ago, so I'm not going to make fun. Oh, Frankfurt had a few injuries, no. And then Aberdeen were really good. Unlucky, even the games they got beaten. So that was a really good campaign for them. Because that was a tough group, you know, PAC. Was it PAC, Helsinki and Frankfurt, I believe it was. So, I mean, they could turn it up like that. They could just step up to task. And I mean, if you can beat Frankfurt 2-0, which is a Bundesliga team, then you can easily beat Stade Bucharest, right? Now, we beat Stade Bucharest 4-0 last year in the middle of a crisis. Now, I wouldn't say Aberdeen are quite in the middle of it. Well, it's not quite as bad as what Rangers were in November last year, I'll say that. Now, with saying that, I'm actually going to go with Aberdeen to draw 0-0. I think this is going to be one of the most putrid games of football I've ever seen. What I'm expecting is Yengi to put in an absolute disaster class. Now, I know he got a goal against Greenock Morton, right? But that only accounts for so much at the end of the day. Because that performance against Celtic There's not one person on this planet that'll disagree. Like, it was fucking rank rotten. It was. That has to be one of the worst striking performances I've ever seen. And he was pretty bad against Hearts as well, but I think the Celtic one just topped it. Getting in the blocking his own teammate's shot, running the ball out of play, being offside. It was just collection of garbage, man. But yeah, I'm going to go Aberdeen 0, Stade Bucharest 0. And I mean, Stade Bucharest are obviously the favourites. I think Aberdeen, to advance, they will be looking to win the game at Pittodrie. But a draw, it's not game over. It's just not exactly game on either, though. Now moving on to the diddiest of the diddy competitions is the Conference League. Crystal Palace come in this round. They get Fredrikstad, but before we get to that game, we've got a battle of Ireland. It is Shelbourne versus Linfield. The United Kingdom versus Ireland. Linfield narrowly lost it. Well, I say narrowly. I think Shelbourne were definitely worth the victory in the end. In the first round of the Champions League, which feels like an absolute age ago, right? But I'm looking at this. Shelbourne, they've got a wee bit battered and bruised. I look at Linfield, a couple more games under their belt. Their seasons began. I think this is going to be more of an even playing field, because I mean, even though I don't think it's a good enough excuse, right? The whole, their season's underway and ours isn't. You know what's coming, right? Get your team prepared for it. That's why you're paid the bucks as a manager, alright? Not that David Healy's paid fucking millions, but you get my point, right? But this first one is in Dublin, and there's a weird stat about this game I seen on Facebook like last week. It is the least amount of turns you have to make as an away fan between two stadiums in European football. It was a total of four turns. That's insane. Like that. So it was like, as soon as you leave Shelbourne Stadium, you're on the motorway. You follow it right up, and then there's 3 more to get you to Windsor Park. I think that's a mad, like, I know it's like a pointless fact, right? But don't say fog football doesn't give you anything here, folks, alright? But that's crazy. You know, obviously, I mean, you get stadiums that are... It's a weird one, because obviously if you get stadiums that are in the same city, like, there's going to be a lot of turns because you're in a city. But, by God, it's obviously a weird one, so yeah, that's a wee fact about that. But I will go Shelbourne to win this game 2-1. Keeps it very alive for the return leg at Windsor Park. Should be 2 interesting and hostile games. Looking forward to it. Right, moving on. I mean, whatever. We've got a San Marino team in the Champions Path, which is quite incredible. Fitros are taking on Brugge. I'd love the wee San Marino team to get in. Love it. Strasbourg taking on Brøndby. Shakhtar Donetsk versus Servette. But we'll talk about Crystal Palace versus Fredrikstad. Right, Fredrikstad are pish. Midtjylland pumped them, Hibs would have pumped them. So Crystal Palace, a team that beat Man City in the FA Cup final, a team that beat Liverpool in the Community Shield, a team that just drew with Chelsea, are going to beat this team. I'm going to go 4-0 and Crystal Palace to get the victory rather easily. Right, Hibs kicking off. Easter Road this time around. They've been so used to going away in the first leg, but now they're at home against Legia Warsaw. I tell you what, man, I need to win this game. I think it would be, I mean, I'm not overhyping Hibs, right, but I think it would be a true shame if Hibs didn't get into the league stages this year, because they've been really good across the 4 games. I do think there was an element of Hibs in it against Partizan at Easter Road, but yeah, man, I think it would be a real tragedy if they didn't get in. But saying that, I think Hibs are going to win this game. Legia Warsaw aren't that good. Now, their coefficient points are pretty decent, but they've definitely dropped off in the last couple of years for me. This ain't the same Legia Warsaw that Morelos put to the sword with that header in like the 95th minute. And that's not me just pretending that, we beat a great Legia Warsaw. I mean, they were alright then, but now I think they're just a bit worse. So, Hibs, I'll go Hibs to win 2-1. The 3 teams they've took on so far, I would say League Warsaw is about... They're worse than Midtjylland, but they're probably about the same to Partizan Belgrade. So I'll go 2-1 Hibs. Moving on, we have got, let's see here, scrolling down, we've got Santa Clara versus Shamrock Rovers. So obviously Santa Clara, got the words attack, got the words out there. Santa Clara, Portuguese team. Shamrock Rovers did really well last year in this competition. Well, they're going to have to channel some of that energy to beat a Portuguese team over 2 legs. This is going to be tough. Probably give them like a 5% chance of going through. Just the golfing quality, man, it's going to be... Now here, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Not like Santa Clara are... They're not like a Benfica or a Porto or a Brugge. I mean, who Brugge taking on? Can't remember, that was the Europa League. They're taking on the Lincoln Red Imps. Like, they're fucked, they're snookered. I think Shamrock Rovers have got at least half a chance, but I'll go 2-0 Santa Clara, which might keep it alive back in Dublin. Anyway, guys, that is it for the European preview show. Really enjoyed doing this one. Till next time, peace.